All right, so we're recording that, we're live streaming that. Right, and let's wait for people to join. So, still no participants. Let me send them a reminder. So, yeah, so Matt is supposedly here from day one, but let's see how we can get them. Yeah, so one person checked in. Actually, I checked four of them took lunch and learn vouchers. So hopefully, with the vouchers, they're committed enough to attend. So we'll see. Let me text one guy.
Perfect. And give them a few minutes. And I find with a lot of these channel and partner ones, they sign up for the collateral and the recording all the times too. So no worries.
Yeah, that happens a little bit, but usually at least few people show up. So let's see
Yeah.
what's going on here. And I have five people who asked for recording, so I'll send it as soon as we're done. So let's see what happens with this guy. All right, so I think we do have at least one person. So Thomas has joined us. Okay, so let's start. I think more people will join in. So Nate, can you hear me?
I can, Boris.
Okay, so yeah, we're recording that. We're streaming to social media. One person joined us in. Three more emailed that they will do it a little later. So to be respectful to those who was on time, so let's just start and we'll send recording to everybody who signed in and who requested it informally. So let's just start right now.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, Boris. Excited to be here today. For a little intro, I'm Nate Driscoll, Channel Director here at Kisi. We're a flexible, modern, cloud-based access control system. And what we're here to do today is tell you a little bit about our integration with VivoTech Vortex, right? Cloud-based VMS system with really flexible camera migration options, really creating that single pane of glass when it comes to camera intrusion detection, alerts, things like tailgating, but also bridging that with your physical access control needs so that you're operating under one platform, getting the most security information in a single place without having to jump between disparate systems. We'll walk you through a little bit of the integration, how we connect to Vortex, some of the advantages, as well as specific use cases that this integration highlights from a market standpoint. And I'll also expand a little bit on Kisi's access control solution, our migration options, and a little bit about our partner program. As I understand, most of the people interested here are going to be coming in due to their knowledge and familiarity with VivoTech and Vortex, but want to make sure everyone's aware of the cloud applications, the tie-in with robust access control solutions, so that ideally get some more products on your quote sheet, more satisfied clients, and really filling out all the check boxes for those partners and vendors. And kicking it over here to Anna Lee. She can introduce herself, and she'll be kicking us off to tell us a little bit about the Vortex solution.
Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Annalise Shane. I am the lead trainer for VivoTech. So I just wanted to share with you all the innovative integration between Vortex and then also the Kisi access control system. It's going to provide you guys with real-time visual confirmation of events. It's going to allow you to make more informed security decisions quickly and also efficiently. So while access control systems play a vital part in securing your facility, they traditionally are going to rely on event logs to track activity. And these logs are going to provide basic information like time of entry, the access points, and even the user IDs. However, they're going to lack that crucial visual context that's needed to understand the situation fully. This can lead to several challenges, for instance, like investigating false alarms that are triggered by malfunctioning readers or forgotten badges that are consuming valuable security resources. Additionally, delays in that verifying the real security threats that can have serious consequences. So video verification is going to solve these challenges by providing real-time video confirmation alongside access control event logs. So imagine this, an access denied event occurs. With video verification, you can receive a notification. With a quick tap, you can pull up that video feed and see exactly what transpired at the doorway. Was it a legitimate access attempt by an authorized user who simply just forgot their badge, or was it a potential security breach? The video verification is going to allow you to see it, to believe it. This is going to eliminate that guesswork and empowers you to make faster, more informed decisions about how you respond to security events. It's going to provide you a more intuitive benefit, as going to be what you see is what you can control. So users not only can monitor real-time images on the live view, but also they can intuitively control the access points based on the scene. So you can obtain the access point or door status like unlocked, locked, and locked down, and then control the unlock at the view cell. And I'll show you this here in a second. So Kisi is a reliable cloud-based access control solution that is made in the USA, and VivoTech has partnered with them to provide a unified, easy-to-deploy platform that works for every building, door, and also user. So let's go over how it works. With owners and admins, they can easily connect Kisi to Vortex just by simply copying and pasting that API key from Kisi to Vortex to connect the accounts. And then we understand that every security need is unique. So this flexible configuration is going to allow you to tailor the system to your specific requirements. So maybe you have a multi-door single camera scenario, which is going to be like your double doors or maybe your side lights. Single cameras positioned strategically can provide a clear view of both doors, which is going to eliminate those blind spots. Then we have the maybe hallways or common areas. So if you have a multi-unit building or office spaces, a single well-placed camera, especially like our VivoTech 180-degree panoramic cameras, that can be assigned to monitor multiple doors in a hallway or that common area. This is going to optimize that camera usage and reduces unnecessary hardware. Now we also have single door multi-cameras. So those are going to be for your wide entryways or your complex layouts. So for your grand entryways or your patio doors with additional access points, multiple cameras can be linked to a single door. This is going to ensure a comprehensive view of the entire access area. Now, while we're leveraging Vortex, not only do we detect potential threats, but we can also receive immediate notifications via our mobile push or even email. So we can notify those key individuals that are responsible for access control events, and then also surveillance events that help or may reduce those losses and also those violations. It's going to help to prevent accidents from occurring. Now, some of the different access control events that we can view is going to be door status. We have door open, door held open, door forced open. You have your access events. So we have access denied, access granted, scheduled unlocks ended, scheduled unlocks started. Also device tampering events like reader or even controller tampering. And then even lockdown events like your door lockdowns, place lockdowns, and even elevator lockdowns. Whenever a designated access control event occurs, you're going to receive an instant notification via that mobile push notification or even an email. It's going to keep you informed in real time. So responding to the notifications is very simple. All you have to do is with a single click, you can launch the associated video feed and view the event alongside relevant information such as the door name, the card holder information, and even their profile picture. This is going to provide you with a complete picture of the situation at your fingertips. All right, so in addition to receiving real-time notifications for critical access control events, you can also access a comprehensive historical record of all that activity from the past 30 days. By navigating to the Message Center section within the platform, you're going to find a dedicated access event tab. This tab is going to serve as a central hub. It's going to consolidate all of your access control event data into one central location. You can leverage the search and filter functions to pinpoint specific events. And this is going to ensure that you have a clear audit trail of access activity within your facility. And then for the remotely unlocking via the browser, a designated key icon is going to appear if a camera is associated with that door. So just clicking on this icon is going to provide you with a drop-down menu if that camera has multiple doors linked to it. It's going to allow you to select a specific one if you wish to unlock. And then the system is also going to provide clear door status indicators, whether it's locked, unlocked, locked down, or offline, so that you can make those informed decisions. For security reasons, you won't be able to unlock a door if it's in lockdown or if the offline status is disabled. After clicking on the unlock button, the system is going to impose a 7-second delay to prevent that rapid unlocking and just ensure that your system has stability. The browser-based remote unlock feature is going to empower you to optimize access management and also maintain control over your facility security from anywhere as long as you have that internet access. You can even remotely unlock those doors via the mobile app. So as long as you access the live view and then unlock the doors that have that key icon. Same thing as in the browser, you just are going to select specific doors from a drop-down menu. If the camera happens to manage multiple entryways, you're going to get that drop-down menu, and then you can clearly see the door status, whether it's locked, unlocked, in lockdown, or offline, in order to guide you whenever you're unlocking those doors. All right, so I'll go ahead and pass this over to Nate, and then he'll go into the architecture and more about Kissy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Annalee. Yeah, what I wanted to sort of expand upon here, and I'll add a little bit moving forward on Keysi's product line, ecosystem, and migration options. But really, what this is leaning towards is a more holistic security ecosystem, right? So that you're managing all your tools, where you want them, how you want to receive this security information, how you want to respond to it. Via the avenues that work for your organization, right? So we're not just limiting or bucketing these different solutions. We're creating something that is more ecosystem based. And no matter where that initial security threat is coming from, we can access and digest that information, as Annalee pointed out, more quickly. And we're not having those large gaps. Think about, you just get a door alert that says, oh, the door's been propped open for more than 3 seconds. Is there a box holding that open? Is it exterior facing? Is someone leaving with equipment? Is it simply, oh, it looks like someone's just letting a meeting out and a couple of people are flowing through, and it's a perfectly natural, maybe 3-second ping. So when you miss that visual, or it goes into maybe an event feed or security log that's either on a desktop or a closed server that you need to check, you're losing time and you're losing valuable information that may allow you to react quickly, prevent the problem either before it starts, or mitigate your losses if there is, in fact, an event happening. Now, the other thing that's really exciting, and I know you saw sort of that two-way feed, is the ability to connect not just the systems and solutions, but utilize existing hardware that the client or facility may already have, right? One of the big advantages with Vortex is the ability to plug into, let's say, OnVIF, on-prem camera systems, pull those into the cloud so Keysi can then access. That way, we're maintaining a modern cloud solution with mobile accessibility, right? But we're not limiting to a full rip and replace for your client's locations, right? This makes things like expansion or rollouts far more both time efficient as well as easier to digest financially when partners start to realize that the investments they've made in access control or CCTV over the last 5 to 10 years maybe aren't as irrelevant as they thought, and they can at least still utilize some of that older hardware and re-educate it, right, to be more modern, robust, and interactive. The nice thing with Keysi is we're leveraging either mobile login, so mobile app for administrators. So if you want these alerts on the go, you're going to be getting not only that event feed, but also the added visuals from the Vortex side with those alert policies right in your mobile. If you need to make adjustments, that's something that can be done on the phone remotely. And with our offline cache protection, right, you don't need to be so concerned about network blips or minor internet outages. We're going to maintain functionality as well as populate access logs and make sure there's no gaps in your event history via the offline cache. And I'll get into this a little bit more in a second, but Keysi takes that flexibility with our hardware ecosystem. What's nice for partners that are already very familiar with VivoTech and the Vortex line is that Keysi is very simplified in terms of our SKUs and product. Everything is enabled to have the most modern capabilities, ability to push firmware updates to these devices. So it's, really meant to be a future-based technology. But again, we're not going to force clients to completely rip out their entire physical infrastructure, and provide a lot of convenient migration options that allow them to roll out and start utilizing this sort of unified technology faster. Can you take me to the next slide? Perfect. And just so you're not sort of imagining too much about Keysi, and I sort of tease a little bit about our hardware line setup and functionality, tends to be a pretty plug and play situation, but again, not limited only to utilizing network Cat6 or 5e. So traditionally with Keysi, we have a controller and a reader. Those are the two central points of the product line, right? Currently, we have a 4-door controller, a 4-door PCB, but that doesn't mean we're limited to 1, 2 to 4-door projects, right? Depending on the space, some of the verticals we concentrate in, multi-site management advantages, this works pretty well and is at a competitive price point where even if clients are only utilizing, let's say, 1 to 2 doors within the 4-door controller, it's leading into things like expansion potential and isn't killing them with costs for those unutilized controller doors. Obviously, if you need to scale up more aggressively for higher door counts, you can position multiple controllers, place the individual PCB boards that you'll see on the left-hand side in larger existing enclosures. And then we also partner with Ultronics. So you could get these bundled in 4, 8, 12, or 16 door panels as well. That way, if you want to get your battery backups, additional lock power supplies built in before it arrives, that's a great option. But the nice thing is we're working with third-party industry standard commercial grade hardware. So when it comes to the locks, sensors, be it mag or strike, contacts, things like that, there's already infrastructure in place. Those can be utilized with the Keysi system with no need for replacement. And actually, this same hardware functions with elevators as well. And we even have things like monitoring licensing if doors don't necessarily need to be unlocked, but you want those added visuals and alerts associated with those doors and openings. Now, as you can see here, traditionally network system, right? So you're going to plug the controller back to the network switch via Cat6/5e. Same with the reader. Again, full offline protection here. So if you do have an internet outage or network lapse, we're going to give you all that information as well as maintain the functionality of the system. But you can do things like add multiple readers to certain access points. So if you want to take this and use in-out time tracking or time stamping, or link this to your HR system, right, for payments or compliance, or simply get really robust tenant analytics to support maybe back to the office motions, right? How effective are the sales numbers when I line up these employees and their office time versus work from home? Are certain locations providing better numbers or employee satisfaction? What does that look like? How often are they in the office? How are they accessing? So you can get a lot of robust entry management and tenant analytics simply by utilizing the various fields, event histories, door alerts, and added video footage that you're getting with this ecosystem. So you're not missing any of the data. And we make it very easy to either plug that into relevant software integrations, like I mentioned, like HR software, Microsoft Entra in terms of directories for streamlined onboarding, or whatever tools are relevant to your tech stack. Like let's say you want those alert notifications in Slack rather than on the Keysi mobile app. So we allow you to also receive, digest, and work with the security information on the platforms or via the technologies that are beneficial to you. And then one of our most exciting things, which is it's sort of so simple but can be so powerful, is the Wiegand board that you're going to see on the bottom. So that can be attached to any of our controller panels. And all of a sudden, you're not bottled into utilizing the Keysi reader, right? That's going to allow you to connect any third-party Wiegand wired reader or pin pad device. So if a client has HID or Honeywell rolled out, you can still utilize their reader infrastructure, connect back to our controller, pull in our cloud integrations. And what's nice is you actually don't need the Keysi reader to unlock with your mobile device. You can do that right on the app. So even if they're utilizing a non-cloud-based or pre-existing reader, you're still getting mobile access for your users when you bring Keysi into the fold. The nice thing with our reader, though, is it does have wave to unlock, tap to unlock. It's going to utilize third-party credentials. So if you are using cards with a third-party reader elsewhere in the building, that same card is going to translate over to Keysi, right? Ideally, we can give people either a single mobile experience or even utilize Apple Wallet, right, for Apple credentials, which is pretty cool. But if they are going to be using a card, they're not going to need to fumble through multiple cards to access. And then lastly, a newer piece of hardware, which is at the top, is our Terminal Pro. And this needs it. Yeah.
Yeah, I recently had that question from an integrator who had potentially Apple project. So there should be scale in that, right? So essentially you don't go with Apple with 10 or 15 users. So it needs to be something like 50, or am I
It's
mistaken?
a minimum bundle of 50 users, but they can be re-provisioned, right? So if you dole out the 50 user credentials for Apple Wallet passes, and then you want to take one of those and give it to a different user, they are transferable.
I see. Okay, thank you.
But in most cases, you can't just have like 5 of your users on Apple Wallet. Unfortunately, as you may have guessed, like
So
Apple.
no such restrictions on Android, right? Essentially, if it can be one by one, right?
Correct.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
And I think, as Apple Wallet becomes more of a common feature within access control, that we may see them loosen up their requirements. But, as I think everyone can appreciate, Apple generally sets the rules, and for a limited period of time, everyone sort of has to play by them. But I will say it provides really great sort of executive experience for certain use cases. You get the nice Apple haptics when you click. The other kind of cool security feature, right, is Apple devices run an emergency backup. So if your phone dies for up to 8 hours, Apple-related security devices like Apple Wallet will still work even if your phone's dead. So what's pretty cool is if you do have an Apple Wallet pass, even if your phone loses battery, you have a pretty large duration where you can still unlock KeySeat with your Apple credential. Thanks for the question, though, Boris, and feel free to interrupt if any more come in. But I did just want to highlight the Terminal Pro real quick, which essentially has a QR scanner attached to our reader. So same reader functionality, but it's going to add that physical 2FA. We do a lot of guest access, high user count facilities, unmanned facilities, think gyms, co-working, event spaces. We got these great ping pong facilities I always go to in New York, where you can rent a ping pong table. They don't have staff, right? There's cameras recording everything for security compliance. You sign up, you get the credential. Problem with guest access, right, is somewhat easy to share. And, unless you really know the person, can check the video footage, little bit of gray area there. Right? So with the QR, you're also getting, potentially offline, non-mobile 2FA for guest signups. And again, more security that the person who's actually been provided that limited guest access is the person on site accessing the facility. All right, let's get into some use cases to start translating sort of where this is the most sellable. And I think two big ones, right, are on the manufacturing factory side. So industrial manufacturing, schools, and then I'll also sort of finish up with touching about two of our highest volume, sort of low hanging fruit use cases, if you will. But schools, obviously, huge market, a lot of funding going to security right now. So we'll start there. But really what we're doing with KeySeat is providing high enterprise level security level features in a very intuitive UI and UX, right? We have one of the highest, if not, I believe, the highest end user mobile rated app. And the same is true for administrators. So you're really able to put the power into student resource officer, teachers, and staff's hands. So they're informed with the relevant security information they need, and they can act on it accordingly. So things like place lockdowns, isolating certain sets of doors, getting these alerts on your mobile device quickly and easily, being able to split out a school into multiple different facilities so you don't have blind spots. You have administrators who are paying attention to those potentially secured areas rather than trying to monitor the entire building. And I think Annalie touched on this a lot. What you're missing when you don't have your camera footage and your access events living under the same pane of glass is you're simply wasting time, right? Like all the information is there. You could go to this system and get it. You could go to this. You could line up the event with the camera log. But what is potentially happening, especially in a campus security situation while you're doing that? Right? Like we don't want to think about that. We just want the information so we can make an educated decision on how to best protect the space the second we get it. So it's really allowing you to specialize facility controls, set those custom alert policies, and then distribute the administrative and security capabilities across an unlimited number of administrators depending on the use case so that you can act quickly, no one has major blind spots, and people aren't escalating or taking action on events where they may not need to. So again, making sure you don't miss anything, but also keeping the maximum efficiency with how we're spending time working with our security systems. And then next slide. I think a lot of these are fairly similar, but with maintaining efficiency for factory operations, I think it comes a lot to one, the high cost of a lot of the materials and equipment that are at these facilities. So really wanting to be able to not only monitor interior, which is something that obviously access control is focused on, sort of what's within your walls, but taking that outside, right, with your exterior facing cameras, allowing some tie in with not only your door security, but also what's going on around the building. And it's creating sort of a controlled and authorized manual of access, where, again, I sort of mentioned the QR scanner. So if you have lots of trucking and shipping, and maybe the truck driver, they're not sending the same person every day. So he doesn't know that he should have the Keysi app, but needs secure access on his mobile device. Something like a guest access pass that can be 2FA'd makes that really easy, so it doesn't have to go back. They don't have to re-provision them into the system. They don't have to make someone download an app or wait for an authentication code. So allowing different members and users to pass into the space for permission or easily remove them incredibly quickly. And I think I sort of touched on this earlier, but the tracking for employees' entry and exit dynamics with, again, the sensitive material, the fact that people are picking up large shipments and then moving product out of the facility, you want to make sure that that's really well aligned, not only with the employee, the entry, the exit, and the correlated footage to make sure you're not missing anything. And if any red flag events do arise, that you have the relevant information in the same spot to escalate that event quickly. And you can actually stay here or move to the last slide, doesn't really matter. But I want to talk also about two of our most sort of popular and core verticals, which would be fitness and co-working. I think you've probably seen a lot of the technology here and how it would lend itself to that. But another huge advantage of Keysi is multi-site management, right? With everything going back to the network, with the ability to connect to a variety of cameras, leverage Vortex to pull that in, work with existing hardware. You can imagine that something like a tanning salon, a gym, a series of co-working facilities that might have 64 locations, this is incredibly appealing, right? Where they can get the same end user experience, run the same systems, operate off the same CRM, payment capture, and member management platforms, have the same employee and franchise owner experience on the administrative level, but at a corporate or higher level, potentially have access to control, monitor, and get the user data from every location. So not only can you maintain your security, stay in compliance, but you can also make long-term strategic decisions to improve the business impact depending on your industry. So I think what's cool about these sort of integrations and these ecosystems is they're hyper-focused on obviously the security aspect and maintaining, a safe and secure environment that's within the employee guidelines, but it's also giving you information to base future decisions on, expansion potential, different areas of interest, adding different doors, playing with the space in a different way, or adding different integrations to help bring new clients into your space. And a lot of times with other access control, you're missing that information or it's not as readily available. Or if you do get it, they're going to make you buy every product line from their suite rather than allow you to work with what you already have. So I think to sort of simplify, we're creating a large net of opportunities that you could bring this solution into, taking the barrier of entry down by allowing clients to potentially work with hardware or software that they've already invested in, and creating a real single pane of glass, which is where client expectations are at these days, right? Consumers never expect less, they only ever expect more. And as soon as they can manage multiple systems in a single platform, that's all they're going to want, right? So the ability to give them what they want within a budget without making them shop around for too much additional stuff is really how we win. And I think I've mentioned just, a couple of our more concentrated verticals that are, we see a lot, but you can take this in so many different directions. And I know a lot of the people who are going to be either seeing the recording, follow-up collateral, or here now, probably more familiar with the VivoTech Vortex side. But always happy to facilitate a more robust sort of onboarding conversation with Keysi. Following up on this, if anyone is interested in learning a bit more about our access control, our specific dashboard, or more importantly, our integration suite, which includes, directories, CRMs, a variety of different software that often has, more vertical relevance. Be more than happy to have those conversations. And of course, if anyone already has projects for this, they can now order both Kisi and Vortex through cctv.net and Boris.
All right, so I got, let me first ask people who participate directly, Matt or Thomas, if you have any questions, please raise your hands. So apparently not. So I got a few questions for people who plan to be here but didn't make it. So Nate, can you please describe licensing model in brief? So one integrator is asking, how does it compare? Oh, Thomas is asking the question. Let me allow him. Okay, Thomas, I have unmuted you. So can you ask the question first, and then we'll go to those who emailed them.
Yeah, hi. I was just going to say my chat is disabled, so I didn't know if you knew that, but can't pass questions that way. I guess I was looking for like how much bandwidth would be needed for something like this. Boris, we work in the agricultural industry, and often we have some limitations on what we can upload. What does Kisi consume, I guess?
I can give you the tech spec follow-ups, or I can get that over to you, Boris, so you can make that available in the collateral. I don't want to misspeak because I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's a fairly low lift. We're not drawing a lot or consuming a lot from a data consumption perspective. Generally in the agriculture space, we've done a lot of things like water pump stations, or even remote access points that aren't in a traditional facility backed by a more robust network. So we tend to be fairly flexible to be able to slot it into areas obviously plugging into the network that don't have it super built up to support a ton of systems.
Like, for example, Starlink is very common for us. Many of our
Yep.
users are using that.
So we just rolled out it's in Papua New Guinea, and the whole thing is running on Starlink. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
And it's agricultural, directly to your point.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like a perfect fit, Thomas. I'll follow up later today. So probably Nate gonna send me something, more detailed information on bandwidth.
Yes.
And I'll follow up with you, and we'll sort it through. But the answer appears to be it should be fine on Starlink, and then we'll go into details a little later today.
Absolutely.
So yeah, going back to those emailed questions. So licensing models. So can you briefly describe what the options are? And I probably not a good, because we're broadcasting to social media, not good place to mention exact prices, but the ballpark and the difference between licenses levels.
Absolutely. So pretty easy to understand pricing model. Essentially, we have from Kisi and to reseller, right? So obviously our discounts or margins are going to be a little bit more if you bring an opportunity to Kisi versus if we bring one to our partners. Important to note that we are a full channel sales motion. So while we do work with direct clients, that leads, take them essentially to the point where they'd want a site visit for a more robust quote. All of those projects get routed through one of our registered and qualified resellers. That way the client's long-term supported, you have more options for land and expand. And obviously a lot of times, depending on the partner, you guys might be making money off of network add-ons or different systems that work in conjunction with Kisi, but aren't related to us. The way the margin splits is one-time hardware costs. So you resell the hardware at your margin. We have a couple different tiers depending on your volume throughout the year with Kisi or what level you're at. And then there's a software component. So the hardware, 5-year warranty, it's US manufactured, and that'll be your one-time margin. And then doors we price per door per year. They can select a monthly option. The annual option is going to be slightly less expensive than the monthly. And there are 4 main license models. There's an enterprise, which is fully customizable. There's an entry level, a pro, and a pro plus. And really the entry, very competitive price point with some limitations on user cap and location. And then from there, it's unlimited users, unlimited admins, unlimited locations, and unlimited integrations. So as you can see, you're paying per door per year on the licensing side. You're getting your margin or your reseller margin on the ARR or MRR. So there is reoccurring revenue in it for the partner. And it's really allowing you to add as many users or admins as you want, which something like co-working, gym facilities, or education is going to be really valuable. They don't have to think about limiting admins or limiting user groups, right? Or every time they hit 70 or 150, they got to go buy more licenses. So really creating that large user count, multi-site management, and pricing accordingly.
All right. So, and once again, for those who want precise pricing, if you go to cctv.net Kisi sections and you log in with the dealer credentials, you'll see absolutely full pricing. So the second question I got about the competition, right? So one of the integrators mentioned that he heard about similar platform that would be directly from HID. So have you heard anything about HID coming up with the competition? And if you know anything about that, how easy would be more competitive and better?
Yeah, and I'm never one to speak ill of any of our competitors, especially where HID has the most readers out there in the world. But I do think of them more as hardware manufacturer and card manufacturer, highest volume one. From my perspective, their mobile division and mobile applications in terms of providing this sort of suite just doesn't have the same level of usability, interface, or end client experience like at all. I think one of the real strengths of Kisi is been around 12 years and have been hyper focused on cloud only, mobile only, and really built a product line where the wave to unlock is instantaneous, phone doesn't have to be unlocked, app doesn't have to be open, administrative capabilities that are actually usable on your mobile. So I think with HID, they have an amazingly robust product line when it comes to the physical readers. A ton of our implementations utilize HID readers or pin pads via the Wiegand board. But when it comes to your ability to digest this information in a unified platform, or as an end user, if you're trying to utilize mobile credentials or things like Wave to Unlock, Passback, it's a lot clunkier on that experience side. So when it comes to like HID, I think they really lean their hardware into something like Kisi or Verkada or an OpenPath, and our abilities to utilize their hardware ecosystem rather than looking to them as the administrative platform where you would connect all of these systems and where an administrator would be working on a daily basis.
All right, and so in last question, and I really hope this guy will be here, but he couldn't make it. But that particular gentleman, he's facing a lot of competition from our friends at Verkada, right? And he needed them ammunition to fight Verkada on beads. So essentially, and that question, I guess, would be to both Vortex and Kisi. So essentially, how do you approach Verkada beads, right? So what are strengths? What are potential weaknesses? How you plan to address those weaknesses? And essentially, the short topic is competition to Verkada.
Absolutely. I think sort of from the Kisi, speaking on the access control portion, right? We traditionally sort of come at the go-to-market strategy pretty different from Verkada, where they make everything within their product line, right? They've gotten recently more open in terms of integration options for both hardware and software, because why wouldn't they? But they're really leading into a project to get as much Verkada in to satisfy the use cases possible. Which, look, for some people, that's really appealing. You go with a single vendor, all the products are under that vendor. So for, compliance, support, RMA potential, that could be appealing with having that all lie under single source. That being said, it's all under that single source. So if things aren't going well, or you have misalignment, or I think, without getting too finger pointing at Verkada, some things with their sales team cutting out channel partners, aggressiveness in the market can cause issues. And then you're tied to that rollout, all that client sites, locking them into that single vendor. So I think that that's one main one is we come from more of a let's play together. Let's see what you already have. Let's see what you could potentially keep without losing sight of what you want your end goal to be. And that's usually how we win against Verkada is as long as we can check all the boxes that the client needs that Verkada can, and generally we can, it's just going to involve different integration partners like a VivoTech Vortex, maybe some IP sensors, maybe some additional pin pads that aren't made by Kisi. But what's nice is some of that stuff might already be there, or the client might just feel more comfortable spreading out their investment with multiple vendors. And I think really what we were missing before the Vortex integration was the single pane of glass with CCTV, the ability to view, remote unlock, audit, and have everything lined up in that single dashboard hub. Because that's very, very powerful. And when we had to say, hey, look, yeah, we integrate with a ton of VMS systems, you can pull your Meraki feed into the Kisi event. The big thing was like, well, why do I need two systems? Verkada can give me one. And so what we found is that we can go against that use case now with an integration like this. And there are a lot of clients out there who would rather not purchase or do business with Verkada if they don't have to. It's a great product, right? They got a lot of technology backing it. But there are some sort of perceptions or opinions about how they do things sometimes that turn people off, right? So I think being able to get the client what they want with a more human approach without making them replace things they might not need to is generally where we see our wins.
Okay, thank you. And Annalie, do you have your answer to Verkada? Essentially, it's Verkada started with start with the video, right? Essentially, and access control they added later, but now pushing real hard with combined approach. So essentially, what's your competitive strategy about Verkada?
Right, absolutely. And just like Nate was saying about the whenever you go with them, you're kind of stuck with them. So one thing that we like to talk about is that we're no vendor lock-in, right? So we have that opportunity where your customers, if they aren't ready to do the rip and replace, we have that opportunity to allow them to bring the cameras to the cloud using our bridge NVRs. And not only that, not holding our customers hostage, and then our licensing model, allowing them to choose what they're looking for based on, if they need that cloud licensing for cloud backup. Again, another thing is going to be for that cloud backup, we're not going to limit the customers as to how much data that they can store in the cloud. And then depending on how that camera was recording with the resolution, we're not going to charge them extra in case we need to be backing up quite a bit of storage in the cloud based on the days. So there's several things that we're do. Verkada's a big name; they do a lot, but there are some plenty of reasons why you should go with Vortex instead of them. Based on we're not going to hold you hostage or lock our guys in.
I think just the last thing I quickly add here, as it's one of the biggest selling points for Kisi, and one of the reasons I love working here is our sales team, both on the channel management and direct rep side, are very knowledgeable, very technical, very personable, and they really work for our partners. I like to say we give our partners the easy button. So it's not like you always have to take things to the finish line or have like a signed quote or have like, yeah, they're ready for a site visit on Tuesday. We can really work to vet out the value, understand why they might have been looking at Verkada, create a different picture for them. Again, all on the channel partner's behalf, and really, sort of take that sales cycle leadership to help make sure that the prospect is getting all the information they need in a really human way that obviously makes them feel like, yeah, this is what we were trying to buy, but also creates sort of a buying motion that feels more comfortable, feels like they're buying into a solution that's being built for their needs rather than just like, yeah, we're Verkada, you want it, like just buy it. And again, they're a very good product line, but I think sometimes just the comfortability that we can provide both on a partner and end client conversation throughout the sales cycle is not something I want to gloss over, because we win a lot that way too, where it's like, hey, you guys ended up pretty much doing the same thing. You got to about the same price. We just had a much better experience dealing with you guys. So when it comes to the next 10 years of our access control, we'd like to call you if anything goes wrong rather than those guys.
All right, thank you, Nate. Probably one last question we got from, I think, LinkedIn or Facebook, from somewhere from social media, but a person is asking about integration with CRM. So what exactly does it involve? Can you tell us more a
Yes.
little about that?
So we have integrations with CRMs in a couple of different verticals. I think if I was going to highlight two of the biggest ones, like you can integrate with like Salesforce or HubSpot for certain things, but it's not really like super use case pivotal, but more so on like the payment capture and scheduling. So I would say co-working CRMs. If you think like Office R&D, Exodus, and cards, things like this, which are doing, schedule your room, sign up as a member, payment capture, that we integrate with at such a robust level that some of these apps actually, you don't need Kisi. You can do the in-app unlocks and security access. We rolled that in our API over to their application. So again, that single pane of glass, they want physical access control. They want their members to be controlled. They want alerts. They want cameras connected, but they also want to keep using this CRM for payment capture, scheduling that they've already invested in. And the other major category on this CRM side would be fitness. So ABC GlowFox is one of our largest ones, but also things like exercise.com, Gymdesk, Gymflow. We have tons of them. Again, that just allows them to keep utilizing the management system they've already designed, capture payments, and then eliminate a ton of the administrative work. They don't have to add members. They don't have to add staff or admins. They don't have to check membership renewals, right? Kisi, the access, the events, and the user data is all linking up with their CRM and the permissions that they've set in place there. So those are really, really powerful. Linking it a little bit, not CRM, but directories are also huge, right? Either something like G Suite or on the enterprise side, like Okta, Duo, or it's not Azure anymore, Microsoft Entra, right? Especially at large scale, multi-sites. You don't want your admin having to like add members or switch out cards, right? So you can just link those in. New member gets hired. They're an executive. There's an executive access group. They automatically go in. They automatically get the app. Boom. Their permissions are auto updated. If they change, they're auto updated. If they leave the directory or are terminated from the company, all their credentials are automatically terminated across the board, physical or otherwise, right? So, I mean, for administrators and HR and people who are managing these scheduling and payment systems, we are like a big time easy button. And that we have lots of additional categories that are either more general, like a directory, or VMS integration, which can lead to tons of verticals. And then we have fitness CRMs, co-working CRMs, visitor management systems like Envoy, for example. So integrate with a lot of different software technology. And for anyone who's more curious, I'd encourage you to go to getkisi.com/integrations, where you can view not only what's coming up, but what is currently live out of the box, and they're nicely categorized. So you can start to see, some commonalities, more integrations for certain verticals, obviously areas we do very well in.
All right, thank you very much. I guess there are no more questions. Again, I hope more people would join, but I think it was still very, very productive because I'll convey all the answers you gave, and I'll share the presentation with people who wanted to be here but couldn't make it. And then we'll start, first project is a must. So, we'll work to close our first project and then take it from there.
Fantastic, Boris. And if any other questions do trickle in, or if you even just want to, after this, shoot me over the ones that did come up, I can put together a bit of a packet, right, that addresses those, maybe highlights some visuals on some things I touched at here. And then again, right, like always happy to have conversations about Kisi and our Vortex integration with anyone, anytime, and dig deeper into anything that didn't come up on this call.
Absolutely. NLE and Nate, thank you very much, and we will stay in touch.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much, everybody.